In the blistering heat of a Texas summer, where the sun scorched the earth like an unrelenting forge, a lone figure crested the horizon on a weary Mustang. She was Maria Whitefeather, an Apache woman with eyes as sharp as eagle talons and a spirit forged in the canyons of her ancestors. The cowboys of Dusty Gulch watched her approach, their hands instinctively hovering near holsters, whispers rippling through the saloon like tumbleweeds in the wind. No native woman had ridden into their town unannounced in decades, not since the old wars faded into uneasy peace. But Maria didn't come for vengeance, she came with a plea that would shatter their world. "It's too long and hard," she declared from atop her horse, her voice cutting through the silence like a whip crack. The men froze, exchanging baffled glances. What could this stranger mean? Little did they know, her words weren't about defeat, they were the spark of a revolution born from the deepest well of human kindness. Dusty Gulch was a forgotten speck on the map, a cluster of weathered shacks and saloons clinging to life amid the endless prairie. The cowboys who called it home were tough as boot leather, men like Big Tom Harlan, the grizzled rancher with a heart buried under layers of cynicism, young Jake Ramirez, fresh-faced and full of dreams but haunted by the loss of his family farm, and old widow Ellis, who ran the general store with a shotgun and a Bible. Times were dire. A brutal drought had gripped the land for 2 years, turning rivers to dust and cattle to skeletons. Wells ran dry, crops withered, and hope was a luxury no one could afford. Families whispered of packing up and heading east, but pride kept them rooted, like stubborn mesquite trees refusing to yield to the storm. Maria had traveled from the distant mesas of New Mexico, guided by visions from her grandmother's stories. Her people, the Apache, had long known the secrets of the land, hidden springs, ancient trails, and the delicate balance of giving back to the earth that sustained them. But Maria's journey wasn't just about survival, it was a quest for redemption. Years ago, as a child, she'd watched her village ravaged by settlers' greed, her father killed in a skirmish over water rights. The bitterness had festered in her soul, turning her into a wanderer who trusted no one, especially not the white cowboys who symbolized everything she'd lost. Yet, in a fevered dream under a full moon, she'd seen a vision, a parched town on the brink, and a path only she could reveal. The long hard way, her ancestors whispered, is the only way to heal. Reluctantly, she mounted her horse and rode into the unknown, carrying nothing but a leather satchel of herbs, a map etched in her mind, and a heart heavy with doubt. As Maria dismounted in the town square, the cowboys gathered, their faces a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Big Tom stepped forward, his mustache twitching like a wary badger. "What brings you here, ma'am? We ain't got much to offer strangers these days." Maria met his gaze unflinchingly. "Your land is dying," she said simply. "I've seen it in the bones of the earth. There's water, a hidden aquifer deep in the Badlands, but the path to it is too long and hard for any one man to tread alone." The crowd murmured. "Water? In the Badlands?" It sounded like a tall tale, the kind spun over whiskey to cheat a fool. Jake, the young rancher, laughed nervously. "Lady, we've drilled every inch of this godforsaken dirt. If there was water, we'd have found it." But Maria didn't flinch. She unrolled a crude map drawn on deerskin, pointing to a jagged line snaking through canyons and over ridges. "This trail is ancient, known only to my people. It's 50 miles of rock, rattlers, and relentless sun. Too long for the weak, too hard for the proud. But if we go together, we can bring life back to this place." The unexpected turn came that very night, under a canopy of stars that seemed to mock the town's despair. Big Tom, nursing a bottle in the saloon, overheard Maria speaking softly to Widow Ellis. The old woman had lost her husband to the drought's fever, and her only son had ridden off months ago, never to return. Maria shared stories of her own losses, her voice a gentle river carving through stone. "Pain makes us build walls," she said, "but kindness tears them down." Touched by her words, Widow Ellis offered Maria a bed and a meal, the first act of trust in a town built on isolation. Word spread like wildfire. By morning, a handful of cowboys, including Jake, approached Maria. "We'll go," Jake said, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "If there's a chance, we owe it to our kin." Big Tom, however, scoffed and turned away. "Fool's errand," he muttered. "She'll lead you to your graves." The journey began at dawn, a ragtag group of 10 cowboys and one Apache woman setting out on horseback. The trail was merciless, blistering days that baked their skin, nights so cold they huddled for warmth. Maria led with quiet authority, teaching them Apache ways, how to read the wind for storms, how to find edible roots in barren soil, how to share burdens without complaint. At first, the men grumbled. "This is madness," one complained as they scaled a sheer cliff. "Too long, too hard, why'd we listen to her?" But Maria's selflessness shone through. When a horse went lame, she gave up her own mount, walking miles on blistered feet. When rations ran low, she foraged for all, ensuring the weakest ate first. Her acts weren't grand gestures but quiet ones, like binding a cowboy's wounded hand with herbs or sharing water from her canteen when another's ran dry. Halfway through, the profound realization struck like lightning. They camped in a narrow canyon, exhausted and doubting. Jake, staring into the fire, confessed his deepest fear: "I lost my pa to this drought. Thought I could fight it alone, prove I'm a man. But alone, it's impossible." Maria nodded, her eyes reflecting the flames. "My people say the strongest warrior is the one who lifts others. Selfishness is the true enemy, it dries the soul like this land." That night, a storm hit, flash floods roaring through the canyon. Panic ensued as horses bolted and men scrambled. In the chaos, Jake slipped into the torrent. Without hesitation, Maria dove in, her strong arms pulling him to safety. Soaked and shivering, the group huddled together. "Why risk your life for me?" Jake gasped. Maria smiled faintly. "Because we're not strangers anymore. We're human." Big Tom, back in town, couldn't shake the unease gnawing at him. He dismissed Maria as an outsider, but her words echoed, too long and hard. Memories flooded him, of his own youth, when he turned away from helping a neighboring ranch during a flood, losing friends to his pride. Guilt twisted like a knife. As days passed without word from the group, the town grew restless. Whispers turned to prayers. Then, on the 7th day, a dust cloud appeared on the horizon. Big Tom rode out to meet it, his heart pounding. The emotional climax unfolded in a whirlwind of dust and revelation. The group returned, battered but triumphant, leading a string of pack mules laden with tools and maps. They'd found the aquifer, a vast underground sea bubbling with crystal-clear water. But the true miracle wasn't the discovery, it was the transformation. Maria, limping from her injuries, refused credit. "We did this together," she said. "I came seeking water for my people too, our lands border yours, and drought knows no boundaries." The cowboys, once divided by suspicion, now embraced her as kin. Jake, tears in his eyes, knelt and offered her his father's silver buckle, a symbol of gratitude. But the pinnacle came when Big Tom arrived, dismounting with a humbled bow. "I was wrong," he admitted, his voice breaking. "You showed us what real strength is, not guns or grit, but giving when it's hardest." In a surge of compassion, he pledged his ranch's resources to dig the well, inviting Maria's tribe to share in the bounty. The act rippled outward, cowboys who once hoarded now shared, building pipelines that quenched both white and native lands. As the first drops of water flowed into Dusty Gulch, the town erupted in cheers. Families danced in the streets, children splashed in newfound puddles, and old feuds dissolved like morning mist. Maria stood amid the joy, her heart finally light. She'd come as a wanderer, burdened by past wounds, but left as a bridge between worlds. The cowboys, shocked not by her words but by her unwavering kindness, spread her story far and wide, from saloons in Austin to ranches in Amarillo. That Apache woman, they'd say, shocked every cowboy in Texas. Showed us that the longest, hardest paths are walked hand in hand. In the end,